Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining with me, following me, as we learn from and live with the Beatitudes of Jesus over this next couple weeks. It's been a great time for me to do this. I really enjoy doing this sort of thing, and I hope that it's been good for you, that you've gotten something out of it, and that it's been, encouraging or challenging, rewarding for you to look into the Beatitudes a little bit more every day, as we have been, and as we will continue to do. We've been doing this for 3 or 4 days, and so far we've talked about the Beatitudes generally. We've talked about how the Beatitudes are a portrait that Jesus gives us, a portrait about the nature of the life of the kingdom of heaven, what it is to live in the kingdom of heaven, what that looks like, what sort of outlook on life that the kingdom of heaven takes. In other words, these Beatitudes that we are reading are not commands. They're not entry requirements that you have to do these things in order to be part of the kingdom. In fact, in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus called his disciples to follow him before he gives these Beatitudes. He calls the disciples, and then he sits down with them and says, okay, this is what the kingdom of heaven, the thing I've called you into, this is what it looks like. This is what it's all about. This is what you will become as you follow me on a daily basis. And Jesus says that to us as well today. And we need him to do this. Otherwise, I think we kind of like shooting in the dark, trying to figure out, okay, what's the life of the kingdom like on earth? How do we do this? We need Jesus to give us this picture, these concrete examples that outline the outlooks and the postures towards life that the kingdom of heaven is all about. And we need a contrast with everything else that's going on in the world around us. So we need Jesus to give us these, to be a mirror to hold up as we follow Jesus with our lives. Today we begin with the first Beatitude, blessed are the poor in spirit. And I knew this was going to be a tough one. I had always known that blessed are the poor in spirit. There's a lot more to it than it seems. And it's the most challenging, I think, of all the Beatitudes. And it's also the most potentially deceiving, because we can read it and think, it just means blessed are the humble. And I want to discourage that. Blessed are the poor in spirit is not blessed are the humble. The poor in spirit directs us to something much more profound than just humility. It gets at our very core of who we think we are. And this has been a particularly challenging one for me as I've studied it and prepared and thought on it. This is the one that is the undoing of who I am, because to be poor in spirit means I have to not just recognize in theory that I need God, but I actually have to kind of live into that role of being completely destitute, not thinking I am anything, and living into that. Because the more I think I'm something, the more I keep Jesus' kingdom at arm's length. Because the more I think I'm something, the more I am inclined to want to build my own kingdom. Being poor in spirit is the sort of outlook on life that is characteristic of the people of God's kingdom. And it's that way because if you're of God's kingdom, that means you've abandoned your own. And from a worldly perspective, if you've abandoned your own kingdom, you've abandoned your own self. You've died to yourself. From the world's perspective, that's to be pitied. When we look around us today, we live in a culture that promotes not poverty of spirit, but richness of spirit. That we think we're something, we can do something with our lives. Poor in spirit is the opposite. And it's throwing ourselves completely on God, in dependence on God for everything. This is way more than just humility. And this is why it's the most challenging one, I think.